Call the meeting to order.
Okay, welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public meetings. In addition to our live audience this evening, we are providing remote options for citizens to watch and participate in county commissioner meetings. Citizens may watch our meeting live on our Queen Anne's County website at www.qac.org/live or on Queen Anne County's television channel, Atlantic Broadband Channel 7 and High Definition Channel 507. Citizens may also participate by joining the live Zoom meeting by going to www.qac.org/public comment, and citizens may also email comments to publiccomment@qac.org. Comments received will be read during the press and public comment period on this evening's agenda. We acknowledge everybody's participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. Press and public comment will be taken and is limited to 3 minutes per person. If you care to speak, please sign the information table in the lobby. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing for the Commissioner's review. We will now stand and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Chris Corcorino.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you can remain standing for a minute, we have, for all the citizens who are currently fighting COVID, that they have a speedy recovery, get back to their family. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. We just held a closed session under Section 3-305B7 of the General Provisions article to consult with counsel, and under Sections 3-305B1 of the article to discuss boards and commissions and personnel. And no decisions were made in our closed session. That brings us to the approval of this evening's agenda. The agenda for today's meeting on October the 26th and the regular and closed session minutes from your October 12th meeting have been circulated for review. Do we have any additions and or corrections?
Motion to approve the agenda and minutes as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. That brings us to press and public comments.
Think we have anybody?
We have anybody this evening? Nobody?
No, we'll
All right.
skip that.
Okay, we can move right into the new business. If you want to turn to tab number 3, we have 8 items here. Item number 1 on page 1 is a proclamation that one of you would care to recite.
Got it. Proclamation 2150, whereas Economic Development Week is an event created by the Maryland Economic Development Association to celebrate the achievements of economic, workforce, and community development practitioners throughout Maryland communities. And whereas Queen Anne's County Economic and Tourism Development is an active member of the Maryland Economic Development Association, or MEDA, a nonprofit organization established in 1961 whose mission is to enhance the knowledge and skills of its members, encourages partnerships and networking among people committed to bringing jobs and capital to Maryland, and promotes economic development as an investment in Maryland. And whereas Queen Anne's County Economic and Tourism Development is the professional economic development organization dedicated to elevating Queen Anne's County's business climate, developing state, regional, and local partnerships, and creating workforce development opportunities, improving the quality of life for all county residents. Whereas the Department of Economic and Tourism Development, with the support of the Economic Development Commission, shall highlight the county's commitment to the business community by celebrating the key industries in the county and spotlighting the employees and services offered by the department and recognizing local businesses and their contributions to the community during the week of October 25th to 29th, 2021. Now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Queen Anne's County hereby proclaim the week of October 25th to 29th, 2021 as Economic Development Week in Maryland. Economic Development Week in Maryland will highlight the investment in partnerships that strengthen our competitiveness in Queen Anne's County and asks all to join with us to recognize and reaffirm the importance of business development locally and statewide. Signed, our Queen Anne's County Commissioners, and I guess I can thank the Economic Development Department and Heather and her group for writing this. Did you have anything to say, Heather? Shh, come on up. It's your week.
We think every week should be Economic Development Week in Queen Anne's County. And I just wanted to thank the commissioners for their support as far as allowing our department to rebuild our team. I feel like we have a great team and they're working really hard for the county, and great things are going to happen in 2021 and beyond. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Heather, I'd like to make one remark. You can judge how well economic development is doing by looking at the unemployment rate. We have the lowest in the state, so well done.
4.2 or 4.3.
I figured she'd know that number.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Wilson for reciting that. Item number 2 on page 2 is a draft letter to the chairman of the Accountability and Implementation Board chairman that would echo the comments that were put forth in a letter from Senator Ferguson, President of the Senate, to create an advisory panel to incorporate broader voices throughout the state on this education reform panel. So I do know Mako is here this evening, and they may be touching on some of this as well tonight, as well as Mr. Bariano, who is also here this evening. So, but this is here for your
I
consideration.
move to execute the letter to chairman of the AIB nominating committee.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any discussion?
I think this is one bite at the apple, maybe the only one we're going to have left, so.
Give it a shot, right? All right.
Do we know how many of these actually are going out from the rural counties? Do we? No, we
There are
don't.
none from the rural counties. All the members of the new board, which were appointed by the governor on October the 1st, are all in central Maryland. Yeah, there were no candidates from the eastern shore or western Maryland, but so the candidate pool was limited to, the major central Maryland counties. So there is that as well. But this would ask for a broader group to be engaged.
I know. I guess my question is: are there other counties that are making motions like
Yes.
this and sending letters like this out?
Yes,
Okay.
there are. Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to execute the letter to the chairman of the AIB nominating committee. That's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 3 on page 4 through 12 is the Federal Transit Administration CARES Act Grant Round 2, and this is another FTA CARES Grant Act agreement. It is the second half of the $1 million that was approved, pre-approved last year, and this basically informs MTA that the county will accept federal funding to support our transit services and our county ride here in Queen Anne's County.
I move to accept round 2 of the MDOT, MTA, FTA CARES Act grant agreements to certify that the Queen Anne's County Department of Community Services Area Aging on Aging will operate the public transit system and accept the awards as offered by the state for FY 2020.
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, the motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners, and Director Willis is here this evening, and I'm sure she'll use that money very wisely with the county ride program. She does a great job, so I wanted to acknowledge her here tonight. Okay, item number 4 is on page 13 is a phone system upgrade contract with Chesapeake Telephone Systems to expand our My Telephone system at our sanitary division, Bay Bridge Airport, Kent Island, and Graysonville Senior Centers, as well as the core system here at the Liberty Building via the Sourcewell pre-established government contract. The overall cost for this upgrade is $113,624.80.
Is this to finish out the project, or is this the whole project in itself?
This is an upgrade for all those systems that I mentioned, for the voicemail and all the core systems that operate all the phone systems in these respective groups. Yep.
Okay, I move we approve the recommendation of county IT staff to upgrade phone equipment for the expansion of the MyTel phone system to sanitary, Bay Bridge Airport, Kent Island, and Graysonville Senior Centers, as well as core equipment for the Liberty Building via the Sourcewell pre-established government contract number 022719-MBS for $113,654.80.
Second.
Got a motion to second. Any discussion?
So this isn't obviously all of our phones. What is the status of the MyTel system in other buildings, let's just say?
Some of them have been upgraded, but I can get our IT group to come in and give you a full gamut of all the systems if you'd like me to do that.
Just like to know what the price tag may be over the next couple of years if
Sure,
we're upgrading across the
We can
board.
do that. Okay.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Item 5 on page 5 is a Rural Legacy Agreement of Sale for Benjamin Arminger, and this is from Donna Landis Smith, and this is no county funding expended here. This is going to go to the Department of Natural Resources for final review and approval for another.
I make a motion to approve the rural legacy agreement of the sale and project agreement for Benjamin and Arminger property.
Second.
Motion and second, in discussion.
I will say just one thing. Donna got married.
Today's a congratulations
Yep,
is an
and wish
honor.
her
Yeah.
Congratulations and many, many years of happiness.
That's the reason she's not here tonight.
That's right.
Or she would be here.
Not very dedicated. She could show up after the vows, right?
Better honeymoon is this.
We'll have to talk about
Honeymoon at the
that.
commissioners.
That's
I mean,
right.
That's right.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 6 on page 32 is a memorandum from Dr. Ciatola, and this is a request to award multiple staffing agencies contracts for pandemic response services, nurses, epidemiologists, and administrative clerical folks. There is grant funding to cover this, and it's kind of an on-call contract. There's 3 different vendors here, and they would obviously use the lowest hourly rate available at the time of need. So there are 3 vendors here, so could I get a motion on that, please?
I move to approve the award of multiple staffing agencies a contract for the remaining fiscal year with the option to renew for an additional 5 years.
Second, sorry.
Okay, got a motion and a second, in discussion?
We need to be careful because this is the slippery slope. My brother-in-law sits on the board at Dartmouth. Nurses making $100 an hour are resigning and going to work for agencies in the same job at $200 an hour. So I'm not saying we need to do this for sure, and I'm sure Dr. Ciatola is wholly aware of it, but it is a problem right now in the health industry.
It is.
You know, that everybody's just jumping for the money, and it's going to drive the cost up of everything. So just a little food for thought.
Along with all the other costs going on.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 5-0, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Item 7 on page 34 is a letter from Michael Sanderson from MACO, who is also here this evening, and this is to request a recommendation of a nominee and an alternate to serve on the 2022 MACO Legislative Committee.
Yeah.
Currently, it's Commissioner
Yep.
Jack Wilson.
I move
and
to
Brooke
appoint
Mann.
Commissioner Jack Wilson as the legislative liaison to the committee and Commissioner Chris Corcorino as the alternate member to the committee.
Second.
You want to ask Michael for his opinion on who his favorite commissioner is? Maybe you want to change it. Maybe he doesn't like Jack.
Michael, you want to
But
come on up and
this is all,
answer that question?
see, this would go on record and it would be public knowledge that Mike actually has a favorite. We won't do that
We'll
to
save
you,
that to
Mike.
the closed meeting, Mike. Don't worry about it.
I
Okay.
guarantee you, if you ask him, he will have a tricky way of getting around answering that question. He's very good at that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank
5-0,
you,
motion
gentlemen, for
carries.
stepping up again.
Congratulations, Jack.
Too, buddy.
Excellent work. Look forward to another good year.
Mike is sighing over there, you see him? He's like, oh.
Really? You gave me those two again?
He goes, I came here hoping for a change, and I'm leaving nothing.
All right, our final action item this evening is item number 8 on page 41, and this is from the Department of Parks and Recreation. And this is a bid contract for noxious and invasive weed control for 7 properties, and it is for $98,000, and we recommend the award to the only bidder. We had 2 bidders. One did submit a bid, and this would be for Economy Tree Services. Can I get a motion on that, please?
I move to authorize the Department of Parks and Recreation to award the noxious and invasive weed control bid to Economy Tree Service Incorporated for $98,000 for a period of 1 year with 2 one-year renewal options based upon funding.
Second.
All right. Only one bid?
One bid came in. We had 2 vendors that were interested. EQR, that comes out of Millersville, Maryland, was the other vendor that was, had showed an interest, but they decided not to put a bid in at the time that it was due.
So for our noxious, so for our, no, not our noxious TV audience, for our TV audience, could you say what these noxious weeds are?
I can
Like
give you
Johnson
the-
grass?
Johnson grass, thistle, Phragmites.
Phragmites?
You know, things, a mile a minute that you see crawl up on the, alongside like the trail and on the fence posts of the trails, things like that.
So this bid would make them responsible for just county property?
Yes.
Just
We're working
county
on park
property.
property.
Okay, our properties.
And again, you know, it's not a, by any stretch of the imagination, it's not a cure-all. They're not gonna, you know, knock them completely out. It's gonna be a management of those weeds, keeping them out.
I understand Johnson grass, you have to do it a certain time before it goes to seed, or all
Many
you're
of-
doing is
many of the-
exasperating the situation?
Many of the weeds are time sensitive.
Okay.
And, you know, that's something that we'll work in coordination with them to see where it's popping up and where we, you know, where we need it and at the appropriate time.
Okay, this is just county property that this is for?
So we could spend $389,000 just doing frag in
And
areas.
you'll still have.
So how do we get it 98? Where does that number?
98, this comes out of the initiative from this year's budget, where we had a position that we transferred over into contracted services and then added an additional $30,000 to make it actually a $100,000 project. They came in at $98,000 to
Should
provide
we be
service.
doing more?
Sure. And, you know, just truth be known, I'm going to ask for more in this upcoming budget season again, so we can kind of get it started. The hardest part is getting it started.
Right.
And, you know, at least we've got that going right now, and then as we continue on, we'll, you know, ramp it up accordingly.
This is on park property?
This is on park property.
Can you supply the commissioners with some sort of map that shows the areas that are going to be sprayed?
Yep, we can show
I
you.
mean, that way we can
from the
gauge what
bid.
that $98,000 is getting us.
Right.
And again, you know, the areas that we have outlined, you know, the 98,000 isn't going to take care of it, but those are the properties
Right.
that, you know, have the, probably the most severe weed problem, so to speak.
Todd, a question for you. When we knock these things down, with the bush hog or whatever we do, how long does that last before the Phragmites starts to come back to where it was originally, before we knock it down? 1 year, 2 years,
Well,
1 month, 2
It depends
months?
on weather conditions, but it can come back pretty quick, yeah, if it's moved down.
So it seems like it's a constant thing unless you kill it.
When you're talking about, you mean spraying it or mowing it off?
Well,
You
spraying
gotta
it,
spray it 3 years
yeah, you got to
consecutively
spray it for
to
3
kill
years
it.
straight in
Yeah,
order
3 years.
to kill it.
Yeah, it's a ongoing battle,
I mean,
for sure.
I know I speak for other commissioners here when I say that we receive emails and phone calls and complaints about the Phragmite. And I know we try to respond in situations where the Phragmite perhaps at a stop sign is causing a blind right or left turn. We try to respond to those things right away, but there seems to be some folks that believe that it's the county's responsibility to mitigate all Phragmite in the county, regardless of where it is.
Very expensive proposition. And the other thing is, you know, it's going to be, you know, manpower, and it's going to be chemicals, and it's going to be equipment, so.
I mean, this is something you could almost do 365 days a year.
You can mow it, and you can spray it, and then, you know, the middle of the season, 3 weeks later, you can see
comes back.
sprouts coming back up.
All right, so we have a motion to authorize the Department of Parks and Recreation to award the noxious and invasive weed control bid to Economy Tree Service for $98,000 for a period of 1 year with a 2 one-year renewal options based on funding. Motion's been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 5 in favor.
All right, thank you, Director Chanley. Thank you, Commissioners. That's all the action items this evening, Commissioners. We have a couple of presentations. First up, we have the annual visit from Maryland Association of Counties, MACO. Michael Sanderson, the Executive Director, and the President, the Honorable Wilbur Levengood, here with us tonight for a visit. So, gentlemen, come on down.
Careful with that honorable stuff.
So I just got some sad news that the Greater Greensboro Classic is being postponed from this Friday to November 5th.
I had to listen to Larry whine about that.
I want you to know we were planning on winning it.
I don't play, so it doesn't matter.
So,
I've played one game of golf. It was a Mako event my first year.
under
I
tab
embarrassed
6,
myself well enough not to play again.
tab 6, item 1, you should have a presentation in your books, and I think Michael's brought a few extras here kindly enough, so if anybody else would like to see one of those, they're available here. Yeah. All right, gentlemen.
I'd like to thank you all for in-person meeting. It's nice to get back to that. We're getting there, everybody. So things are going along pretty well. Michael and I have traveled over most of the state. Still got a few places to drop in and visit, but we owe a thanks to one of your homegrown fellows that worked for us. Did very well for us at negotiating some cost savings with the state of Maryland on elections. Kevin did a great job for us there, so, and I believe he's one of your own, so we'll give you kudos for that. Personally, I'll tell you, I appreciate you're going to spend a little money on Canada thistle in this county, because I live east of you, and guess where the wind comes from?
From our direction?
Yeah. But, all things said and done, we're doing well. Michael's got some information on the future, but hopefully, we also sent our enthusiastical letter to the governor about the AIB.
I hope it doesn't fall on deaf ears.
Well, I mean, you just feel left out. You got no representation. The redistricting, Caroline County looks like it's going to get carved into 3 sections. For me, that's just unthinkable. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like everybody that's representing me, and I think they do a pretty good job for what they've got to do, but they've got an awful lot of territory to cover and a lot of people to have to deal with. Whereas the larger population's got more representation, and we're just up against the wall all the time. So I'm not going to get on a political field here. We'll talk about that in a different situation. But Mako's been good to me over the last few years, and I've worked with most of you in one fashion or another there. I found it to be very rewarding. I've got friends in other places that, they at least listen to what I have to say. They don't make all the decisions, so we'll have to hope for better representation, and hopefully the people that are representing are hearing what we're saying. So, thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Wilbur.
Thanks, Wilbur.
Thank you all very much for your time this evening. For the benefit of your viewers, the teeming millions out there watching tonight, I'm Michael Sanderson. I'm the director of the Maryland Association of Counties. We represent county governments statewide, serve, educate, and represent all the elected officials who sit in your seats across the state of Maryland. We gave you a packet of information, but I don't have any intention of sort of going through that in any kind of detail, but rather I'll spend a couple of minutes on some policy issues that feel right and timely, and if it turns out I miss something that's on your minds or don't get into as much depth, that's an easy way to explore more time, but we want to be respectful of your time and agenda. So let me speak to a couple things. First, let me say thanks for the commitment that you all have made to the association. Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Corcorino both represent the county well through our deliberative process. We're lucky to have elected officials from across the state, week by week, bill by bill, guide what Mako does on policy. And my counterparts in other states are perpetually amazed that we have that level of commitment from our elected officials rather than, just adopt a big policy and the staff can figure it all out. It enhances our credibility representing county governments enormously to have that level of commitment. I look forward to, if the voters see fit to have this happen next term, having a Queen Anne's County Commissioner as MACO president. Mr. Wilson is on the path toward those high goals and sitting in this chair with me sometime soon. So I look forward to that. It's been a while since that's been the case. So good things around the bend. As far as other things around the bend, good or otherwise, I'll mention a few things heading our way policy-wise, things that have been coming up in our conversations with your counterparts in other jurisdictions that you may be interested in. You've probably heard the likelihood of a special session of the General Assembly before the end of this calendar year. It looks like they're going to convene the second week of December, principally for the purpose of congressional redistricting. So we know we're in this weird double witching hour. Every 4 years we redraw, we have elections, and every 10 years we redraw districts. Every 20 years you get to do both at once, and we're in that particular cycle. Congressional lines being drawn in December, but wait until January for the Maryland legislative lines to be drawn. The Constitution requires the governor to propose something at the beginning of the coming session. So doing it in December before it's even proposed would seem a little untoward, perhaps. So do that in 2 rounds, but it'll still leave a pretty short window of time for folks who may be thinking about Senate and delegate races to contemplate what the lines are and where they may run, because the filing deadline is February 22nd, so that'll be a month or thereabouts. With the special session coming up, it might lend itself to being open and shut, be done in a matter of a couple of hours. Except for the matter of there are some pending bills that were vetoed by the governor toward the end of the last legislative session, and under the Constitution, if the legislature wants to override any of those vetoes, they need to do that at the next time they convene. Ordinarily that would be January, but if they're coming to town in December, they've got to make a call then. They can't postpone that until the following January. So what might otherwise have been like a 45-minute special session, here's the map, vote, done, go home, may turn into 2-3 days and have a few different floor debates and that sort of stuff. So legislators have been advised to clear a week and a half's time. I think it's unlikely they'll be in time they'll be in Annapolis for that amount of time, but a few days is an opportunity for who knows what. So they'll be in town to draw some congressional maps, to probably override a few vetoes, potentially to vote in a new treasurer to sit on the Board of Public Works and guide state finances, as the incumbent treasurer has announced her intention to retire. So an agenda for the legislature a little more than usual in their one-hit special session sort of thing. So we anticipate that in the weeks ahead. For the legislative session ahead, election year, and that has its own contours and so forth, a couple of things that have been on counties' minds I'll mention here briefly. We know last year the legislature spent a good deal of time on police reform and accountability and transparency for law enforcement at every level. There are some pieces of that bill that are particularly difficult to assemble for county governments. And I mean this aside from what might be your political or policy view of whether the bills were thought out well and whether they were good ideas. There are some pieces of the bill that are literally just hard to put together. County governments having a police accountability board that oversees nominally municipal officers, and in some counties that have college campuses, even like a campus police department would come through a county-appointed board for discipline reasons, is a really peculiar structure. I'm not sure that was exactly what the legislators had in mind, but that's how the bill reads. There are a variety of other odds and ends about the memberships of these entities being created at the county level, where we've got county leaders shrugging their shoulders saying we're not sure this references a section of the law that's now been deleted, so we don't know how to do that. A lot of stakeholders believe the legislature is going to come clean this up. I have been advising counties, please don't put all your eggs in the basket. Don't do nothing in anticipation that this session they're going to pass a new bill and fix all these things and the process is going to be cleaner and smoother and better. This was a really hard-fought legislative battle from last year where a lot of people on either side of the political debate felt very upset about it. Those are tough fights to revisit the following year, especially in an election year and so forth. So bringing all that stuff back means everybody whose amendment lost last year, they run it back up the flagpole and get a roll call vote and make a big deal of it. That's a lot of effort to go through. So those of us who have technical and procedural issues we'd like to fix, and we do, I wouldn't want to say that that's a layup, much less a slam dunk. So set that aside as something a lot of folks will be looking at, including county, municipal governments, and a lot of other stakeholders. I'll mention education as well, and I'll speak to one of the issues that's already come up on your agenda this evening. The State Accountability Implementation Board, the regional balance on that body, there are going to be a number of jurisdictions sending letters similar to the ones that you've expressed, and I think the idea of the additional panel, there's a 7-member statutory body, but if they end up with a variety of other stakeholders in the room and guiding those decisions, is the best step that's available right away. We'll probably see legislative proposals to change the constitution of that body. Please do know that this isn't the body that's like writing formulas and deciding who's spending what or who gets what funds. It's more along the lines of the Kerwin plan says over the next 10 years, we have these new expectations. We want the schools to launch these new programs. There should be new services for special education students or for school districts that have high concentration of poverty and so forth. And if you were concerned that the last go round of state new commitment to education may not have yielded the results that we all would have wanted, then an entity like this to guide the follow through. After the dollars go, then what happens on the implementation side, board by board, school by school, program by program, these are the folks that take a look at that. Having folks from across the state makes sense, but it's not going to be a tug of war over who gets money and that sort of thing. At the local level, there also is the matter of a local implementation coordinator. And this is one facet of that bill that has been a quirky structure as well. The idea, a jointly appointed person at each county level, jointly appointed by you and your school board, to sort of guide this process at each county's level. I think that was the General Assembly trying to give you a seat at the table for how to get from here to end goals. In addition to just coming up with funding, getting a letter each year saying this is what your new maintenance of effort or state funding requirement looks like, to say having someone who sits before you and is at least partially accountable to the county commissioners or county government, to say this is what's happening and this is where these new funds are going and here's what next year's step is going to look like and so forth. So I think that's the vision there. I'll just mention one more thing on education. I'm at risk of going longer than I'd wanted to. Each year we count students on September 30th. Last year it was right around this time on the calendar when people started scratching their heads saying our student count came back like down 11%. That wouldn't make any sense. We don't think that our school system has just shrunk by a ninth. We know that it was remote schooling and some kids taking a 1-year leave and going to other options and so forth, but you would expect some or many of them to get back into the public schools as we're getting more on track. I don't know yet what this year's school count looks like, but if it's off by 2, 3, 4% compared to what we would have expected, there's going to be a similar policy debate. Do you we fund schools per pupil. So next year's formula is based on the count we just did a couple of weeks ago. If it's off by 2, 4, 5%, do you just follow through and say, well, the formula says there aren't all that many kids, so we don't need to fund them as much? I'm not sure that that'll be the end of the day on that policy. So last year that turned into get out the hammer and saw and do nips and tucks, and you changed all sorts of different facets of the bill, and it was down to the wire on what counties were obliged to do. Is it possible we have like a quarter on the dollar or 2 quarters on the dollar as much confusion this coming spring as we did last spring? I think it's at least possible. So put a pin in that as a possible uncertainty. I haven't heard whispers yet that people are panicked about the student count, but even if it's 2, 3, 4%, it's enough to move the needle. When you talk about $7 billion, small percentages can matter a lot. And I'll just mention one last issue really briefly. The share of state transportation revenues that get sent back to county and municipal governments, We're losing too many people in the political process who were around to remember what a county budget used to look like. And the share of roads that are maintained by county and municipal governments is something like 83% of the road miles are local. So we know the big highways and we know the big projects and so forth like that, but you've got roads and bridges that are important. And we're now on basically 12 years of a starvation diet where you don't have a gas tax, you don't have your own revenue source to take care of that. We've been patching over and tarring and chipping and doing less than our best on this front for a pretty long time. We're about to reach a cliff effect, and I'd like to wipe that out, but I'd also like to take another step forward to getting back on track. And toward the end of a political term, this is an opportunity to run that up the flagpole again. We can make a run at that with the legislature. So a lot of other things on tap through the General Assembly, many of which will affect counties. We'll be proactive on a lot of these things, and cybersecurity and continued rollout of broadband and flexibility on federal funds and pandemic relief and a laundry list of other things. But in respect for your time, thanks very much for sharing your window with us. We hope to see many of you at our in-person conference in Dorchester County in December 8th, 9th, and 10th. I think we'll have another opportunity for a safe and productive in-person event. There's no replacement for the ability to get together and have an exchange of ideas. Zoom rooms are great and they're functional for some reasons, but they're not a perfect replacement for being able to be face to face and just standing by somebody in the buffet line. You have the conversation that makes the whole thing worthwhile.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You can't replace that. So anyway, thank you all for your time tonight.
Any questions?
Wilbur, I just want to thank you for your service as president this year. I know you've done a great job, and you've had a lot of adversity to deal with in terms of the COVID and the meetings and whether we were going to have summer Mako or not. You've done a fantastic job, and
Well,
you're on the backside of it now, so you count down the days to you.
No, I'm not going to be on the backside of it. I went to work for the citizens of Caroline County in 1975. I'm still there. Not sure what I'm going to do just yet, but I still have a little room.
Fantastic.
Michael, same to you. Thank you for all your years of expertise and commitment to the 23 counties in Baltimore City, representing us while we're taking care of business here, and you got us covered over there during session, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And the respect level that Michael gets at Annapolis is absolutely astounding to watch. When he brings Mako's opinion to the table, and granted it's 24 jurisdictions that get together and make those decisions, but Michael and his whole staff work to hammer them points home, and it does make a difference over there. We do get traction for any that have any skepticism about Mako's ability in Annapolis. Trust me, I've seen it in action, and it's very effective, and a lot of bad things have been staved off by Mako in the last 6 years that I've been over there doing it. So
That's why we continue to join.
And for the citizens who are watching, which, by the way, Michael, I will tell you, Bruce, what's the statistic? We have more
his comment about
viewers
the
than
watching, yeah.
Montgomery County, Anne
Arundel.
Arundel County, and PG County combined for our broadcast. I just want you to know that. So for all those viewers, just so they know, Mako, Maryland Association of Counties, it's a tremendous organization, huge advocates for us. And I think anybody who doesn't have faith in government working should watch how the Mako legislative process works, because you have people from all different parties, all different interests, really getting together and coming up with a solution for proposed legislation, what is good for county governance. And it is really, that's how government should operate. So,
A true
thank you.
bipartisan effort.
It's great. It's
A
great
true
stuff.
bipartisan effort.
There's no reds and blues when you're picking up the
Yeah,
trash. Right?
absolutely.
that's right.
So I think it would give people,
Job well
heart and
done,
people to
Michael.
see how that works. It's really amazing. So, thank you, Michael.
Thank you all.
Hey, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.
You off to another one tonight or home?
This is our show.
This is ours. It's time to go home.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
See you all.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Well, online.
Online. Via Zoom.
I'm about wore out for that.
All right, Commissioners, our next presenter is our legislative liaison from Annapolis, our boots-on-the-ground guy, Bruce Bariana. We want to talk about some legislative requests, summary for this coming session. So this can be a conversation. There is a list in your binder under tab 6. Item 2 on page 23 kind of highlights some accomplishments from last year, some other items we did not successfully achieve last year, and then a few new things. So Bruce, you want to start off, or you want me?
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Queen Anne's County Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. And before I start, just on a personal note, I've known Mike Sanderson for a very long time. He used to be head staff of the House Appropriations Committee a long time ago, and he's just a quality professional person. And my representing York County, I also have the pleasure of representing Washington County. I work actively with MACO, and it's a very collaborative, very excellent. So we're very fortunate to have Mike, the head of MACO. Secondly, as a personal matter, I just would like to thank those commissioners that were able during their schedule come down to the Tallest Crab Feast. I was very honored. It's good to see you all, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves very, very much. I really did. I hope you got some Smith Island cake, as well. But thank you very much. If I could just, before getting into some legislation and issues, not trying to duplicate or repeat, but a couple of things that were mentioned previously. As Mako indicated, there will be a special session, definitely. It's supposed to start on that Monday, I believe, the 5th of, the 6th, excuse me, that Monday, the 6th of December. Uncertain how long it will be. I would agree with that. I know, speaking to some senators, they've been told by the Senate President, block out 2 weeks. So I just bring that up. I mean, several of them, they've gotten the memo from the Senate President. I presume the House has gotten something similar. They're clearly going to do congressional redistricting. That also has to be sent up to the governor. Governor will have time to, he has 6 days to sign or veto that. They would like to be around. Now, they may recess and then come back. I'm not saying they're going to be there for 2 weeks, but they may come back and potentially override that. In my memory of Annapolis for the past 50 years, believe it or not, it is the first time. And I'm not trying to get partisan or anything. I'm just trying to lay out the situation. That's all. It's the first time that a Republican governor in a democratically dominated legislature has done redistricting. Look back. I mean, Governor Ehrlich did not have an 8-year term, so he did not have that opportunity. But so you have a very different dynamics than you would under a Democratic administration and a Democratic legislature in redistricting. So it is somewhat anticipated that there will be real disagreements, and the legislature may try to pass their version over the commission's version. And I say the governor, but as you know, the governor set up a bipartisan commission, which chaired by former federal judge Alex Williams. And they've completed their work and are submitting it.
Question for you, Bruce. Any models of what's being considered out there for public view? Or just speculation?
Just speculation. I mean,
okay, nothing.
The one thing I've been asking about, which I think is relevant, Commissioner, is there was some early dialogue and scuttlebutt that the entire Eastern Shore, of course, would be included, but that, as you may recall, when Roy Dyson was a congressman, they came across the bay and picked up parts of the Western Shore to change the party affiliation ratio in a congressional race, in the congressional district, excuse me, District 1. I've heard some rumors of that, and I've just asked around, out of not only interest for this county, but others, and it appears that will not be the case at all.
But what about for our delegations?
On the delegation one, the only thing I know, I've had conversation with Senator Hershey. He is pretty much, his county is very much intact. What he's disturbed about is really unnecessary. What's being talked about so far is, I think you heard earlier, is taking Caroline County and dividing up into 3, creating a whole new district, as well, and even creating a whole brand new district up in Cecil County. Now, Cecil County already has representation attached to Harford County, but also has in Delegate Hornberger a freestanding representative already.
I think
I know
that
in
district that you're talking to
Yes.
is, in the north, it also carves a large portion of northern Queen Anne's County out. Basically from Barkley north gets carved out as well. So we
Does
lose,
it?
yeah, we lose a
Really?
good part of North County, yeah, in that carve out, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I know Senator Hirsch is staying very,
Actually,
very
Churchill.
attuned to the whole thing. I mean, he obviously would like Queen Anne's to stay intact, as it is currently. Not seeing a need to create a new district. Cecil County is well represented legislatively, at least on the House side, from that standpoint.
But there's nothing, there's nothing there that people can take a look at, like we looked, like
There
the
isn't,
Bay
but
Bridge, and
I
there
will
were
check
7 or
for-
8 different options that
Yeah,
they were looking
there's
at.
a map out.
Is there a map through
There is
these
a map, yes, I've seen it. There's a
central
map out.
districts?
Yeah, with the legislative district proposals.
I will check further, but also just process-wise, and again, I'm not trying to get political, but I just want you to know, just so you have this kind of overall information. All right, so you know the dynamics. You have a Republican governor submitting both a congressional and a legislative plan. The belief in the conversation is that the legislature will just really just reject it completely. They have the votes. Again, you don't have a Democratic governor, so you don't have those dynamics there, and pass their own version. I think the real check, and again, excuse me for repeating myself, I'm not trying to get political, I just want to lay it out because I think it's very good information generally for you, not only congressionally, but legislatively. The only check that I think there is on the legislature not really going unfettered in terms of doing whatever they want to do is the reality that these matters can be taken into court. And they have been taken into court before and been challenged before, both congressional and legislative. On the legislative front, you have a Court of Appeals that is now chaired as a chief judge by a former delegate, a former senator, who is the chief judge of the entire judiciary, who is on the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals has, even if you may recall, when Glendenning sent in a map, it was widely contested, and the court did redraw some parts of it. Okay. That's how Cass Taylor lost his election and what have you. So the court ultimately, if it finds good grounds, can redraw districts, and from there is no appeal. That's number one. There's no appeal from that, okay, on the congressional side. But the other thing the court will have that it can utilize in whole and in part is this citizens group that the governor created, chaired by a very highly regarded and well-respected former federal judge, Alex Williams. They've had meetings throughout the entire state, a lot of input and what have you. So there is another model out there that the court, I'm not saying they're going to, I'm just saying it's there, rather than try to create something themselves that they can take in whole or in part and utilize and adopt, and from there is no further appeal. So the legislature is mindful of that, and that will be a good check overall. But it is a continuing process, and the congressional will be taken care of during the special session. They will have to deal with all the governor's vetoes the Constitution requires whenever they come back in. It's the first order of business, so they will do that. Whether they will try to pass any other legislation, I really don't know. There was some scuttlebutt, which I've really been trying to follow rumors, but so far it is no more than just a rumor, and that is that they were going to change the primary date for the election. No, it was out there for quite some period of time, and I've checked it out. I've been talking to senators and delegates, and I'm told that.
Okay, so.
But that would affect everybody. That
Sure.
would affect everybody.
So,
And-
talking
about the primary election,
right,
not
so
the general
it's
election.
July now, right? It's June now?
Oh, it's June now. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
What are they looking to do with it, Bruce?
To push it out.
They can go for the voting by district and get that in?
Excuse
They
me.
can do the voting by district and try to get that in with enough time for it to
Possibly.
be
But
enacted?
I've really checked that out, and as of really last night, I was at a fundraiser talking to a number of legislators. It doesn't seem to be on the table at all, really at all. But they're in session and they can pass things on. The governor could veto it, but they can come back in. So I don't mean to raise any fears or concerns. I just want to share with you all the information that I know and also the process.
Well, I think it's fair to say that what we as the general public consider the term to be defined scuttlebutt, and then what is deemed scuttlebutt coming out of legislators in Annapolis, sometimes that scuttlebutt's not scuttlebutt, and that it actually does happen, and it's just kind of somebody's way of leaking it to us to give us a heads up of guess what's coming.
Commissioner, you're right. I don't take any scuttlebutt I hear and just discard it. I try my very best to check it out in my phone conversations, and what have you, not only from my own knowledge, but that of my clients, that. So please, no letters that you want to go to Delaware, okay? All right, please, okay, please. I mean, everything's good. Everything's good.
Thank you for covering that, Bruce.
But I'll stay on it, and we'll keep you very posted on that. Also, very briefly, but and I think it's relevant, there's going to be, and you're going to see some of it in the special session, but if not, you will clearly see it in the January session that comes in. There's going to be, in a very unprecedented way, particularly in the fourth year of a four-year term, some very significant legislative changes. I'll just run through them very quickly. In the House, it is expected that the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Ann Kaiser, will be moving on to a very significant private sector position, and there'll be a new chair of the Ways and Means Committee. That's very, very significant. The House Economic Matters Committee, it's been reported, it's not really a secret or anything like that. The Nancy Kopp, the current treasurer, will be retiring as of December 1, so the legislature constitutionally must elect someone to fill out that term of the 13 months before 23, when they elect someone for 4 years. The person most likely, and I anticipate will be the new treasurer, will be Derek Davis, who is from Prince George's County, who currently chairs a very significant committee, the House Economic Matters Committee. So that will be a vacancy of a second very significant, well, all the committees in the House are significant. That will happen. And the vice chair of that committee, depending on the governor's actions, is before the governor on a possible circuit court judgeship in Montgomery County. So that would be a new chair and vice chair of that very significant committee. Those are significant changes. Over in the Senate Finance Committee, which is a very significant committee, that I understand the chair of that committee, Dolores Kelly from Baltimore County, will be retiring before the January session, and there will be a new chair of that committee, the Senate Finance Committee, which is quite significant there as well. So there's, aside from the other changes that you're reading about and statewide elections, what have you, there really unusually in the last year of a 4-year term are some very significant changes that will occur. And I just mentioned that generally I will keep you fully apprised of what I know, and of course, when things happen. Going on to the legislation, I know you have. I've been in back and forth communication with Mr. Moan. You have, I know, in front of you, you have legislation that was not approved last session, and the bills that were approved. In terms of the bills that were not approved last session, on the page that you have in front of you, let me take the last one first, House Bill 655, which, as you know, died in the Senate. I have been very unable to find out from the bill sponsor whether he intends to put that bill in again or not. He's just not telling me. It's Delegate Brian Crosby from St. Mary's County. I know the senator in that district, who's rather disturbed by the delegate's action, is looking for a good candidate to run against him in the election. But I don't know whether he's going to put that bill in or not. What I do know, in conversations I've had with Senator Hershey, and as you know, he was really very much in the forefront on that, and in defeating it in the Senate last year. He is prepared. He's loaded for bear. I think the awkwardness in this proposal coming forward is the bill, in essence, as you know, creates single-member districts. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Apparently, the legislature, as I'm being told anecdotally, is not going to be proposing single-member delegate districts. Well, so you have a bill going through creating, at the local government level, single-member districts. If they're so good and so important to do, why not for the legislature as well? So I think this bill, in the kind of the backdrop of redistricting going on, there just can be a lot of inconsistencies and hypocritical actions. But I will continue to endeavor to try to find out if that bill is going to be going back in or not. If it goes in, I don't see how it would affect the elections of the various counties that it would apply to. But it bears very close watching, and so I wanted to bring that up. The Sunday hunting, all the Sunday hunting bills of the various counties were not enacted. They passed out of the House. Senator Pinsky, who chairs the committee in the Senate, doesn't like hunting or fishing on Sundays. And none of the bills went anywhere. I would recommend a further effort in that regard, and really continue pushing hard on it. These are local bills. Other counties have that currently in the law. So blocking any further expansion of that is very unfair. It's treating counties disparately. I would recommend respectfully, I mean, it's your discretion, that legislation should be reintroduced, both on the fishing and on the Sunday hunting. And I'm not saying it wasn't fought hard before, but we just ramp up our efforts and try and make some additional arguments and points in that regard. The bill on criminal disruption of the highway usage, dealing with the Bay Bridge, I sent to you. I apologize, I forgot to bring it with me, but the bill did not pass, but the legislature did pass some budget language asking the Department of Transportation to monitor that situation and to provide some data. I can send that budget language again to you, but I know I did send it after the session was over. But that bill, and as you know, that bill was only in the House, was not in the Senate, so it did not proceed forward. On the House Bill 644, the Queen Anne's County Licensed Beverage Bill, I've not been able to get the full story, but someone on the committee was just trying to send a message to Delegate Arentz. That was, that local bill on an unrelated matter within the committee, and that bill just didn't go anywhere. I would recommend it be put back in again. Each session's different in a brand new session. I mean, it's your discretion, but you learn from the past, and hopefully something can be done in that regard. On item number 8, I've read over what Mr. Moan has sent to me. I mean, it's within your discretion. I'd be very happy to make sure that legislation's introduced, if it's your pleasure, to add Queen Anne's County to the other counties currently under the law, to give some broad ability to have agro-tourism. I've seen some other jurisdictions do that on farm property and other related property for weddings and other occasions. No one has asked to do a bar mitzvah yet in a farm, in a barn, waiting for that. But seriously, this people are looking for different types of venues for weddings and other festive occasions. So it's your consideration, but I would hope and expect that a bill like that would
Because
receive.
we're just really going to be going on to something that already exists. This should
Yeah.
this should,
Yes,
be,
oh,
this should be
right.
a slam dunk.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I just don't see any problem, and you have that options. I mean, there are a number of other counties that are doing it, from that standpoint. As to the action you took earlier, I'm just presuming you will, but I'll be happy to assist. I would get a copy of that letter that you already have voted on to Senate President Ferguson, so that he has it as soon as possible. And I'll be seeing him on another matter. I'll be happy to follow up and see what his office is doing to get other letters from other jurisdictions to really, make this happen administratively. A bill could be introduced. I don't know if Senate President's, thought of that, if the letters and administratively it doesn't work, but that's another alternative that could be done either in the special session or in the session, coming up. The other item, which I believe you all know, is that I don't have a date yet, but it's going to happen, and I think it's going to be wonderful, is that I'm working with the staff of the House Speaker's office. The House Speaker has said to me in conversation that she's touring around the state. And she was telling me about it, and I said, well, Madam Speaker, I represent Queen Anne's County. They would love to have you here and what have you. Would you come on out? She said, yes, she would. So we have sent, as you may know, some suggested things to look at and what have you. Don't know if I probably would be a half day. I don't know if it would be a whole day or a half day, probably a half day, but some things for her staff to look at logistically and decide and what have you. And I've been staying on that. I've been nudging them lovably, to get a date and get it done, and of course to let you all know. But I think that would be really nice to have that. The House Speaker was chairman of the Capital Budget Committee on the Appropriations Committee before she became Speaker. She is, and I commend her for it, she's a very visual person. Like anytime there was a capital project, she went to visit it, which was fabulous. You got so here she really wants to have a more visual of the state. So that'll be very helpful to the county, and of course, would be fully involved and decide who else you would want to have there. And I'm sure Delegate Aaron should be there, and you might have Senator Hershey, et cetera. But I'm working on that and working off the list that was submitted for possible visits and stuff like that.
And that would be sometime between now and
Yes,
Thanksgiving,
before the
probably.
session,
Down in
yeah.
the session.
She had said to me she wants to get it done before early December. So I'm hoping to get a date soon. I believe there's one date that I was asked one day of the week I was asked to stay away from. Respectfully, one of you really has scheduling difficulties that day, but and I gave that information. We'll have to obviously see what works in her schedule, but it should be a real good thing. That is all I have on my end. Be happy to answer any questions. Again, let me say in advance, I thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really, really love representing Queen Anne's County. I'm not just saying that to be polite. I enjoy it immensely. I love working with all of you. I appreciate you tolerating me, and I really like working with your your delegation. I believe Delegate Aarons will continue as chair of the Eastern Shore delegation, which is really very helpful to this county in particular, since he's the resident delegate here.
Sir,
He's a pit bull.
something of interest to Queen Anne's County is the implicit closing of the Whitsitt Center.
I'm sorry, the what?
Closing of the Whitsitt Center.
We did?
Whitsitt.
Whitsitt.
It's in Kent County, but it's.
But that is our go-to for addiction, and it will be a hard blow to Queen Anne's County if that happens.
Is it, just if you can educate me, is it announced to be closed, or is it there?
Yes.
Yeah,
About a year.
In about a year?
yeah, and that's, I mean, you remember the ruckus that cooked up over Kent County Hospital closing?
Yeah.
This wouldn't get that
Is
because.
is this behavioral health or just addiction?
Both.
Yeah.
Both?
I believe it's both, but I
It
know
is.
it's addiction for sure.
It's mental health and addiction, yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
We
The reason I
have,
mention that is I have a client in Anne Arundel County called the Pascal Crisis Stabilization Center, named after Bob Pascal, when he was county executive. He got it started and everything like that. And they are extremely successful in Queen Anne's County, in Anne Arundel County. They receive no money from the county at all. They receive no money from the state. They have gotten some bond money for infrastructure, but the point is they operate without any governmental budget expenditures, and they handle drug addiction and stabilize behavioral health. Now, it's not a residence. Is this facility a
Yes.
residential?
yes,
I mean, so it's
There's
more than
beds.
just a
It's
stabilization.
inpatient, yes, primarily inpatient.
but there's
So it is.
very.
I just say that
Yeah.
they could come out and maybe talk and see if there's some location and some ability that they could be of assistance
We
here.
need both. I mean, frankly, I mean, we have.
But they're not a residential facility, but they have a very excellent reputation in Anne Arundel County, and very strongly supported by the Anne Arundel delegation, Senator Ed Riley and others.
Well, we need this one,
So you know this is coming, am I correct?
yes.
Well, I'll be very happy
Would
to.
you find out the particulars of it and?
Yes,
and
I will
then-
do that. Yeah,
Because that's something we would like to intervene in.
and excuse me for not knowing, there is no such facility in this county.
No,
Not to that nature.
No,
because
that's
that serves four counties too, so
Oh,
it's
it
not,
does?
yeah,
Okay.
it's multi-county.
I will do that and try and come up with some thoughts and ideas. Maybe even a discussion. I'm sure they would come out and just talk, even to give thoughts and ideas, to help you all out.
Right. All right. Jim, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Anybody else?
Bruce, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I thank you very much. I'm sorry if I went a little longer than I
No.
would have, but I just thought you'd want to have some of the
Yeah, we appreciate the insight.
background
Yep.
because it's very different times.
Absolutely. A lot of
Have a
changes
good
coming.
evening.
You too,
Thank you,
Bruce.
sir.
Good to see you, Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again for coming down to talk.
Sure. All right, next, Commissioners, we have our Director of Economic Development and Tourism for a grant hearing for funding to conduct a feasibility study for the reuse of the former Sellersville Middle School. So, and Heather, come on down.
Take care, Mike.
So this is item number Roman numeral 3, page 25 in your book. And also with Heather is Rebecca Lepter, our Economic Development Coordinator. So they're going to chair this hearing. And we'll take some public comment, and that conclude things. So, go ahead, Heather.
So this is a public hearing for a proposed community development block grant application. So there's some items that I need to read due to the formal nature of this request. This application is being made for an adaptive reuse of the former Sellersville Middle School building. The purpose of this public hearing is to obtain the view of citizens on community economic development and housing needs to be considered for submission of an application for the Community Development Block Grant awarded through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. The purpose of this project is to obtain the funding needed to conduct a feasibility study to consider multiple options for an adaptive reuse for the former Sellersville Middle School building. Citizens will have the opportunity to discuss proposed projects and to provide input and other needs to be considered. A draft application will be available to the public for review on October 22nd, 2021 at the Kramer Center at 104 Powell Street, Centerville, Maryland 21617 during normal business hours. Citizens will be provided with information including but not limited to the proposed project under consideration by the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County. The Maryland Community Development Block Grant Program is a federally funded program designed to assist governments with activities directed towards neighborhood and housing revitalization, economic development, and improved community facilities and services. It is administered by the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. The proposed project under consideration by the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County is a feasibility study in the amount of $50,000 to give Queen Anne's County the information it needs to make decisions about the building's continued use and to help it remain a viable community asset. The public hearing must be held prior to the grant application submission, and notice of the hearing must be published in the local paper at least 5 days prior to the hearing. A notice of public hearing was placed in the Record Observer on October 21st, and announcing the public hearing set for tonight at 6:30 p.m. at the Liberty Building in Centerville. This public hearing will summarize the purpose, proposed strategies, and proposed outcomes of the following of the project: the adaptive reuse feasibility study of the former Sellersville Middle School building. An overview of the project is when the Queen Anne's County Board of Education relocated the existing Sellersville Middle School to the new campus location in 2012. The former Sellersville Middle School was left vacant. Since the building was vacant, renewed use of the building has been a hope of the community. Having a feasibility study that incorporates previous studies and consideration of added infrastructure will allow Queen Anne's County, Sellersville Volunteer Fire Company, and the town of Sellersville to identify needed improvements to the building and lay out goals for its full redevelopment. With a vision to renovate and repurpose the historic school as a multi-use facility, the feasibility study offers a foundation to potentially revitalize Main and Church Streets, meet critical needs of the area, and increase economic opportunity in Sellersville and the surrounding communities. We have now reached the public comment section of this public hearing, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
I would signed up.
Does anybody want to speak?
Anybody want to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. I'll keep it very, very brief, but I think all of you know my name is Mike Faust. Sorry, it's okay. I'm a past president of the Sellersville Volunteer Fire Company, and I was involved with the middle school project from the very beginning. I actually wrote the RFP back in 2012 or 2013 for when the project was turned over to the fire company. We've maintained the building ourselves. Over the course of the years, we check it for security. We've instituted a couple other things out there to add value to the area, including a laundromat, which I think you all are aware of, which is heavily used by people from all around the county and other counties, actually. And we most recently had worked at a project with Atlantic Broadband. They put a hub on the back corner of our property to allow them to keep a circular, if there's internet goes down at one point, they can reroute it a different direction to keep people in place. So that's been a relatively new project, but we have always wanted to find a good use for this building, and these funds will allow us to do that and get the feasibility study done. Personally, I think we should be looking at some technology there. There's already fiber in the building, which is unusual for the town of Sellersville. So my thoughts were technology-based businesses downstairs and even really high-tech apartments upstairs. But again, we'll see how the feasibility study goes with your guys' support. So thank you.
Anybody else? Close public comment?
Okay, public comment is closed.
Okay.
Would you like us to give you some more details about the grant?
Do we have any questions?
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion, and I don't think this is one I'm
You can make a
care about
motion.
holding open for the 2 weeks. So I'll make a motion that we approve Queen Anne's County Economic Tourism Development's applications and Community Development Block Grant Program for an adaptive reuse feasibility study of Sellersville Middle School for $50,000 and sign the proposed resolution.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5 in favor, motion carries.
Awesome. I want to thank Rebecca for her hard work on this. She's been the lead on this.
Excellent
Good
work.
job,
Thank you.
Thank you both. Great job. Bring him some more grant money, that's right. All right, Commissioners, we have our final presentation of this evening, feature presentation, I should say, from Director Steve Shanley from the Department of Parks and Recreation for his quarterly update. So, Steve, take it away.
So we make him last on his presentation, but he's always first when he's buying trucks. I don't get it.
You're never going to let me live that down.
All right, welcome, Steve. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be here again to fill you in on what's been going on lately. Again, just starting off with program open space. These are some of the projects that we still have open. We've got court rehab, and we're looking to be able to possibly close that out. Next month, we'll be coming to you guys with an action item to take care of some tennis courts and pickleball courts that we've had scheduled for a long time. So we've got our fingers crossed, and then it's just a matter of getting them scheduled to work. The Route 8 trail extension up by Chesapeake Elementary School, the Terrapin Park and Restroom Ranger Station, that's a project that's going on, should be completed about the first of the year. And then from FY22, we just put additional monies into the trail extension and to, into Terrapin. We also have the White Marsh project. It was the local parks and playgrounds infrastructure money that we got. We got $1 million plus some county funds. We're putting lights up at White Marsh Park on the Bermuda fields. That work should be done around mid-December. Should be completed and ready to go from there.
So I got to umpire a game at La Pointe Park and witnessed the quality of the new lighting there. Amazing. I mean,
It's night and day.
no pun intended, night and day. So
Yeah.
the folks at White Marsh are going to have a real treat.
That's going to add a whole new dimension to White Marsh Park and open it up for a lot of additional use, so we're looking forward to that. Some of the things that you guys have been a part of, we had the ribbon cutting at the off-road trail at Terrapin Nature Park. Again, just a couple of photos of our staff there and you guys there representing. More staff, and it was a great amenity to the park. We seem to be getting a lot of good use out of that. The other ribbon cutting we had the other day was the Opioid Awareness Trail at Old Love Point Park. Kind of the continuation of Go Purple, and not just necessarily just for the month of October. We wanted to make sure that it was something that was extended throughout the year. And this is a great opportunity that we came up with, and we got a lot of great reviews, and it was a very good ceremony. And even after the ceremony, people they hung around for a little bit. So, when that happens after a ribbon cutting, I think you kind of get the feel that you did something right. Here's another picture of it. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the Terrapin Nature Park and Ranger Station, the top two pictures on the left and the right are what the area used to look like. The bottom two pictures are the areas that have been cleared out recently, so we're moving forward on that project. Some other park projects, the one on the left-hand side, the wooden boardwalk, that was a Eagle Scout project that we had done. The middle picture is a picture of Ferry Point, and there was a storm in September that came through there, and we actually lost about 10 feet of the shoreline.
I remember actually sitting on that bench with plenty of land in front of you.
So
now it's beachfront.
Yeah, so we'll actually be meeting with DNR to see what we can come up with to try to recapture that. And then the picture on the right is Roosevelt Park, and those trees along that tree line have been infected with the emerald ash borer. We have recently taken those down and did some other tree work in the park and got them cleaned up and back up to good standard. Oops. As Commissioner Dumanel was mentioning, the lighting project at Old Love Point Park. In addition to that, we also got some new backstops. for that site. As far as recreation, we've had a couple of different leagues going on. We've had the youth field hockey program going on. They utilize both artificial and natural turf fields, so they got a good combination of both. You can see the different age groups that we had, from 5 to 13-year-olds, about 160 participants. One of the good things about this is, not only is it just Queen Anne County citizens that are using it, but we also combined with Kent County and we didn't combine the teams, but we competed against them, so it kind of expands their
I
play.
can tell you that this is a very successful program that the county has had with the field hockey. So much to the extent that it's a great feeder program to our high schools. In fact, Kent Island High School ladies varsity field hockey competed for Bayside Championships tonight. Hopefully they won. So it's because of these programs that our rec comes up with.
Good deal, thank you. Youth volleyball, again, we've got, junior divisions and senior divisions, and again, we're having good use with working with the Board of Education. And during COVID, we actually moved the program outside, and we had sand volleyball at Old Love Point and at Sellersville, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a good program. We've been able to do it both inside and out. We've extended the seasons. Youth flag football, again, it's a growing program. The numbers aren't super high, but it's beginning to take off. Usually they play on grass, but they also get the one game on the artificial turf, which makes them feel like they're big time, and it's something special to play on. Some of our recreation special events in cooperation with the Corsica River Conservancy. We had Corsica River Day out at Conquest. We had Barbecue Bueno out there, 12 different exhibitors. You can see some of the different activities that were out there. It was nice to get back, as we had to obviously take a break from last year because of COVID. We also had a 5K run out at Conquest and a trail run. We had about 50 participants there. Again, it's a nice alternative to regular road races. It's it's through the woods, and we've got some nice compliments on that program as well. Again, utilizing the artificial turf at the high schools. We have adult soccer drop-in. We've also done some yoga out at the Mattapique Clubhouse. Now the big season going into winter, we've got youth basketball. They just did a rating for the players this weekend. They're getting ready to put them onto teams, notify coaches. Practice schedules and games will start December 4th. Our other big program for the wintertime is the indoor soccer league, which the deadline is November 1st for registration, and you can see we've got 117 already registered for that program. Artificial turf rentals, we've done, again, we've continued to do well at Queen Anne County High School. It's mostly football and some field hockey. UQA football has actually used that as their home field this year.
Great.
They've definitely enjoyed the benefits of being there. It helps them out, I think, in proximity as to where they're located and participating against teams from across the bridge.
And I mean, I know we've thought about terms of Churchill obviously being their original home, and the shape the field was in. It's great to see that they're able to use the high school field. Are we looking at anything up there in terms of a long-term solution to get them back to their home practice field at least? Or?
Well, yes, and I'm glad you brought up. We actually met with several gentlemen from UQA football. We talked about the Churchill field. Again, when we went to look at it, it was the middle of summer, middle of July. Hadn't rained in 30 days. So there was a lot of dust, but it was still a playable field, and that's one of the things that our conversation was. The field is still playable. If you can practice on it, it's playable. It's still game ready either way. And one of the things is how do teams practice on your field? And again, it's the organization. We work with them, and we're asking them to move practices around on different parts of the field. Don't always the worst part of a field is the side that's closest to the parking lot, because athletes don't walk. They can't go too much further than the closest part of the field. So, that was one thing that, they were in agreement with. And then through our conversation, we talked about moving them to a different area. We have them actually practicing up at Centerville Middle School in that open field area there, giving Churchill Field a rest. And that thing now has grown in and is lush. And it just goes to show, if you look at Centerville Middle School, that field where they're practicing, just the damage that practice does alone. So a lot has to do with trying to stay off the field as much as you can, saving that as your game field to keep
So maybe
it
a
in pristine.
rotational type thing may be the best way to go in the long term,
Yeah.
to move it around to where.
But, and I think right now they were very satisfied with going to Centerville Middle School. Because when we had the conversation with them, we said, try it for a week, put it out to your parents and see how it goes. And if it blows up in your face, then, of course, by all means, you can come back to Churchill. They got down there, they liked it, and everything has been great from there. So, and, a good part of it was just, the communication aspect of it. Making sure that they come to us first as opposed to jumping over us and coming directly to you, because all that's going to do is jump to you and come right back down to us.
Exactly.
So, give us an opportunity to make it right. If we don't make it right, yes, by all means, they should come to you. But, knock on wood, I think everything has gone well
I
this
appreciate
year.
it. I have not gotten any calls this year, so that's why I say it went good.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Probably got 2 more weeks of the season.
But just playing on the turf, I mean, those kids love it. I mean, there were so many good comments about them getting to play out on the turf last year when the field was in bad shape. You
Right,
know?
right.
I mean, it's special. You get out there, you're on the turf field, you're like the big boys, you know what I mean? So,
Kids
And,
love it.
I tell you, probably the hardest part about the turf is just the behavior of people that are actually on there. It's the chewing of the gum. It's the sunflower seeds. It's the Gatorade. It's the Cokes. It's all that other stuff that is detrimental to the field.
Right.
If we can get everybody to be on board and support those rules of only having water, very limited Gatorade and no chewing tobacco or sunflower seeds on there, it makes everybody's life a whole lot easier. But again, it's part of that learning curve, and we're getting there. But, obviously those are just
It'd be
those are
nice if
people.
there was some sort of machinery that allowed you to vacuum the turf, redistribute the infill, but keep the other stuff that's like the sunflower seeds. I mean, that's the big, you can't just sit there and pick those sunflower seeds up one at a time. Talk about a monotonous thing. And that's part of the reason why, I had said maybe Mr. Miller could reach out to the many organizations that use our fields and just say, hey, look, just as a reminder, no sunflower seeds.
Right. And we, obviously we are following up with that. And,
Good.
it's just it's a constant thing. It's every periodically you have to go ahead and remind people of that. And again, let's see, not only is our outside groups using the artificial turf fields, but we are too, as I mentioned earlier, in some of the activities. Fall sports outside leagues, we've had 193 total teams. That's roughly about 2,200 participants. Just for your information, we've got 65 grass fields and 17 ball diamonds were in use this past fall. As I'm sure I'm not telling anybody new, field space demands at Kent Island are through the roof. There's not enough fields technically to accommodate. We're really squeezing folks in, and one of the battles that we have is getting people to go a quarter mile down the road, another 2 miles to another area where there's an open field, where there's space available. But
but what's funny is parents will take their kids into travel leagues and drive 70 miles to a tournament. But they won't drive 10 more miles up the road to get a field they can get to. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Going across the Kent Narrows Bridge, it's just
When I played, we had to walk uphill both ways in the snow. You know the story.
Right, right.
So,
With no shoes.
With no shoes, that's right. You had to carry your shoes on your shoulders. So,
But, you can see the different soccer leagues that are utilizing the facilities. There's a total of 89 teams using Old Love Point Park this year. That's a lot of teams in a limited
how many
space.
sports is that total, Steve?
Let's see, that would be
4?
soccer, could be lacrosse, baseball,
Oh, baseball.
volleyball. It's at least 4.
Oh, they're using volleyball outdoor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've got that going on as well. Wells Cove Landing, we've done a lot of improvements there. These installations that you see were actually installed by Hobson Landscape. It was designed by Nancy Scazzari, who works for us. It was a good collaborative effort between Hobson's and our department, as well as working with our landings department and the Kent Narrows Development Foundation. The top picture, you know, if you recall, it was filled with, 8 feet high, overgrown, aged out hues that needed to be removed. So now we've opened it up and it's nice, and you've got a view shed of the water no matter where you park. People can't hide behind it. Trash is limited as far as being tossed in there and hidden forever. The bottom picture is actually the landing itself. We have that circular landscape area put into the middle of it, as opposed to the whole area just being blocked.
Right.
So it gives it a completely different look. The picture to the left, we did some repaving. We shored up the lines along there, and we also put pavers going towards the porta pods to make them completely ADA accessible. Sometimes, the porta johns are put in areas where they're not truly ADA accessible, where there's a mud thing and it gets dug out, and so therefore by rule they don't really work. But now, we've ensured it this way that it does. The Chesapeake Carriage Visitor Center, the bulkhead project is getting ready to get underway. I'm sure you guys have seen the equipment down there, and we're hoping to get that started within the next week or so. DPW engineer Paul Seiden is spearheading that project. So we're looking for good things. Kent Narrows Marina, I showed this picture, and obviously it's not a good picture because it's a sunk boat. But the good thing that comes out of it is, we have begun to establish better relationships with the Coast Guard, with DNR, with Natural Resources Police, and those are things that go a long way. And we've gone through the process, and we're figuring out who needs to come in and how to take care of it, making sure that all the rules are followed. The boat will actually be removed probably the first or second week of December. It's actually going to be done by Mertech, which is the group that is doing the visitor center bulkhead. So we went through DNR in their process and their abandonment project.
So speaking of the projects you did at Wells Cove Road and the new bulkhead, I imagine the phone's ringing off the hook from the folks from the Kent Narrows Foundation thanking you for all the great work you guys have done.
They are appreciative. They
Okay.
are appreciative. Let's see. Roman Cook Pier, we've got a new fence up there, and it's actually going to be electronic. We're waiting for the installation of the electric box.
Is it on a timer? Or
It's going to be on a timer. It's going to be 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. are the hours that we're going to operate that. We're still figuring out the last part of how to notify those folks that are on the pier, say about 8:45.
Big horn.
Siren.
We talked about horns, but obviously that's not going to go over too well. We'll probably somehow figure out how to put some lights out on the pier that will flash.
Pyrotechnics would be
15
cool.
minutes. Yeah, that would be.
Sprinklers.
Now, 9 o'clock is that, so 9 o'clock because in the peak of summer, it's still daylight at 9.
Still daylight.
But what about daylight savings?
Well, we're trying to be consistent.
Okay.
And we're trying to also be courteous to the neighbors that are
Right.
that are down there. And again, Roman Cook Pier was 24 hours. It had been 24 hours for the longest time, and one of the reasons it changed was during COVID, because it was the only game that was in town that was open. So everybody was flocking there. Yep. Things are going back to a better place. I don't want to say normal because we don't know what that is. So still trying to accommodate what we told the neighbors, and still providing a outdoor recreation opportunity to folks.
Will
And
there be a sensor if somebody doesn't get out, their car's in there, and they want to get out?
they can get out.
They'll be able to get out.
They can get out.
Yeah, it'll have an exit loop, it just won't have a new
Right.
entrance loop.
Correct. So they might freak out at first,
Right.
realizing
They
that
drive
they're
up.
in there. And
See, maybe you need some signage there that says, drive up to the gate. Don't call 911.
So we're looking forward to getting that done. And as I was going to say, if people are looking to fish those later hours, Mattapique Pier is open 24 hours, so they can, still provide some sort of outdoor recreation there. Blue Heron Golf Course, they reseeded the Bermuda fairways and got a good coverage, about 90% coverage. Their golf league is getting ready to finish up. They didn't have any COVID issues, which is a positive. One interesting thing is the supply issue for golf balls is backed up
Is that for the driving range?
for the driving range.
Okay.
Eric is having a tough time getting any type of range balls coming in. So,
It's a Texas storm problem still. It's part of the Sirline or whatever they use, and it's part of that plastic, same in PVC and all that, same shortage they're having everywhere with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see, and then the last thing on here is they've got a green renovation plan. They're trying to redo the greens 1 through 9, but obviously, like anything else, the prices have jacked up, so it's going to limit the number that they can actually do. The airport completed their pre-design phase of the runway for rehab and safety enhancement project. They're getting ready to move into the design phase with construction beginning in the spring of 2023. They started the last phase of the wildlife fence. It should be completed in 4 weeks, and this was kind of put together about 2 weeks ago. They're about halfway in. And they closed out the environmental assessment project, which is repeated every 5 years. We use the DPW spray technician to help out with some of the weeds along the fencing there to make the area look better. They're looking to contract with Corman to spray aerially those areas that aren't easily accessible by the ground. Again, as we were talking about earlier, trying to control the Phragmites. The hangars have been fully occupied, and the boat show in Annapolis kept them busy as people were flying in and getting extra fuel and going to the boat show. So they've done really well. Both the airport and the golf course have benefited out of this past year. And that is us in a nutshell. There's still a lot more, but trying to respect the time as best we can.
Well, so we tease you about how much you've been in front of us over the last couple of years as far as budget items and requests and needs. And obviously one of the biggest concerns is that the public, in the court of public opinion, that they see a huge difference in the product that we're putting out. And I have to tell you, you guys are killing it.
Well, thank you.
Job well done.
We've got a good group of folks, and we know what we want to take care of, and we're trying to knock them out one at a time. And like I said, we'll be coming here again before you next month with hopefully 2 big projects, and just continue to roll.
We keep getting those calls. I don't know about my fellow commissioners, but I keep getting calls and emails about a dedicated area for pickleball.
Yep.
And I sent you all the articles and the stuff that's going on down in the Carolinas. And I mean, it's just an amazing push. I mean, leagues and tournaments and people traveling all over, to play in these pickleball tournaments. And it's just, tennis players got to be getting worried.
Me too. I hear the same thing.
Yeah.
More pickleball.
And we're accommodating it, by sharing the use on the tennis courts.
Sure.
But, if we do build a pickleball specific facility, it's going to blow up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It's just about finding the right place and, making sure that people will travel to wherever it is located. And, I think it's just going to continually grow as the population continues to grow here and, the sport as well. So.
Yeah, it would have to be kind of a centrally located place where people would travel. It's obviously got to be big enough to accommodate the parking, that you're going to have. But, some of these facilities that they're building down south for pickleball, it's amazing.
Like 24 court
Oh,
facilities.
24 courts and, a pavilion and snack sheds. I mean, it's big stuff. But anyway, good work.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you guys for your support. We definitely appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Okay, that concludes the presentations for this evening. We can accept any additional press and/or public comment if there is any. on Zoom, or
There is none.
there is none tonight, so we can go to
Go straight to
roundtable.
roundtable. Let's go with Commissioner Wilson.
Which one?
Let's just see which spoke first.
Whichever one spoke first.
Bill did.
Sure.
Jack Wilson.
Yeah, so I guess we got a double dose of legislative updates tonight, which I guess is good since that season's coming up, and obviously we're going to have the special session. You know, we go through the budget. We go through those periods as commissioners where we got a lot of things going on all at one time. Obviously, public safety is always one of our biggest concerns in the budget time. I think the legislative session is probably our other biggest concern because so many things are driven to us as state mandates that we have to deal with the outfall from. And I think it's important that we stay diligent, and it's great to have Bruce and Mako on our side over there because obviously we are part-time commissioners, quote unquote, and we can't spend all that time, you know, keeping track of what's going on over there. And you know, like I said, in the time I've been over there, I've seen a lot of legislation that could have really hurt Queen Anne's County that was able to be thwarted through efforts by us and by our, you know, legislative body and Bruce and Mako. So, again, I think it's an election year, so I agree with both of them. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as it's been the last 2 years in terms of bills that are really not taking a long, hard look at the future. But I still think we're going to have some things we're going to have to deal with over there and stay diligent on, because this one with the redistricting, and like I said, the map's available. Take a look at it. Basically, they're going to chop the top end of Queen Anne's County off of what is our existing delegate. It'll be a new delegation representing the northern part of Queen Anne's County, which is going to be an odd situation because Queen Anne's County's never really been split up in terms of how it's been represented in Annapolis. So based on, you know, how that shakes out, it could be differing views. I mean, which I guess is good, but it could also be bad. We don't, you know, we'll have to see how it shakes out. But that's all I got.
But I guess under that, in theory, we could have 2 delegates that live in Queen Anne's County.
Correct, yeah. Well, and so I guess that's the anomaly, and that's what kind of Wilbur was alluding to a little bit. So the way Caroline got split up is Caroline would never get a sniff at any delegate because, they'd be the majority of one part of their 3-head would be in Talbot. The other major would be in the northern Queen Anne's and all of Kent. So all of Kent already has a delegate, you know, so they're looking at, they'll never have another shot at a delegate ever again because they just won't have the population base to outweigh the
Right.
other county.
Yeah,
that they would
and
be
explain to,
competing
and
against.
people that are watching, when it comes to electing our delegation, it's the top 3 vote getters from a House of Delegates standpoint. And so when Caroline County got Jeff Christ 8 years ago, that was a feather in their cap that they actually had someone who lived in that county that was representing them in the delegation. So
And
it's
because
going
they
to
were
be
competing
interesting.
against Cecil, who again has a much larger population than Caroline, but the carryover between Queen and Queen Anne's typically has the largest population within that existing district. But now, you know, if you think about it, our population, as much as everybody thinks nobody lives up in that area, there's quite a few people that live north of Churchill. So, and you're cutting it off there. There's quite a few people up there, more than you probably would think. So it'll have an effect even here on our elections here to some extent.
Yep.
So it's something to watch for.
I don't know if I'm stealing anybody else's thunder or commenting on something, but just a reminder to all our citizens that this weekend, the Sunday coming up is Halloween, and it's the Bay Bridge Run Walk. And there's going to be well over 12,000 people. There's going to be bridge closures and things like that. Do we have a place on our county website, Bruce, where people can get information about the race and closures? Jim? Do we know?
Good question. Yes.
It's on the website, yeah.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you're worried about when the bridge is going to be closed and when it's going to reopen and what will be going on as far as traffic, just keep that in mind. That's all I got.
We'll be a press meeting tomorrow about that bridge thing too.
And you guys will be there?
Yeah, I'm gonna go and see if we learn anything new that we need to put out.
Okay.
Put it on the website too. I think Beth probably set something up on the website.
Okay.
But we'll make sure we do that.
Good. Thank you.
Commissioner Wilson?
Wake up. Let's see, last weekend it was Sheriff Hoffman's open house, which a lot of people attend. It's always interesting, the public interest in the sheriff's department. Two, I have probably never had more public attention than I got in the last week about you guys saving the high school. That was, as far as the people of Centerville go, best thing that happened around these parts for a long, long time. I must have gotten 40 different people come up and compliment us on saving the building. So that was, if local politics is the stuff we're up to, that was one of the better things we've done. Item three, hospitals are still terrible. Anne Arundel was on reroute, 30, 40 hours. Reroute's horrible, it means you can't go. I mean, this situation is not getting better, and we're still walking in to middle of the winter and the flu season. So I guess a note to the citizens, hook up with PCPs and urgent cares, because you're not going to want to hit the ERs unless you have to.
So Steve, I'm noticing that since we talked about it last time. So our call volume has pretty much stayed the same.
It's running.
So I mean, I guess, is it call volume outside of our area that is pushing these to reroute so much? Or what is it? Do you have any idea?
It's staffing. It's not.
Still a staffing
it's not
issue.
The volume is running pretty average.
That's why I say it all looks the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
we typically do about 70 or 75 transports a week, and everybody else is running steady. But the hospitals, half the beds are closed.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I figured, all right.
And then you got a unit sitting out of service waiting for a bed.
Yeah,
You know?
like the whole infusion department was closed down at Shore for, you do stuff like that, and then somebody else gets overloaded, and
Right.
the system is in a bad state right now. So that's it from me.
Short and sweet, I just want to thank the Sellersville Senior Center for allowing us to come up there for the picking and grinning.
That was
Serving dinner.
That's great.
Jack was cutting the rug up there, so it was a good time by all, and and I'll be at the Bay Bridge. I'll be Sunday morning, taking off at 7 a.m. So looking forward to it.
I'll be going for an all-time personal best record.
Oh, that's yes.
That's called making it across. That's the
You know,
whole
you've
thing.
been spending-
Trying to make it across,
so
it's a good thing.
You and Mary Beth have spent a lot of time walking the Cross Island trails. Is that your training condition for Sundays?
No, that's
He's
just.
got the Rocky music on.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Down the trail.
That's exactly right. Yes.
All right. I think everybody has covered everything, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.